Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. This Saturday, 22nd April 2023, we hope to study the Parihana Sutta, or the discourse on decline, given by Venerable Sariputta. It's in Anguttara Nikaya, or the numerical discourses of the Buddha. Venerable Sariputta talks about the Parihana Puggala. Parihana Puggala, that is the person in decline, and the Aparihana Puggala, the non-declining person. In this talk, I am going to refer to the layperson, the renunciate, and how this state can affect both. All beings want to find a lasting happiness, but do not realize that everything in the world is changing all the time. The Buddha says that a foolish person thinks that happiness can be bought or obtained from outside. But true happiness can be realized only by training the mind, which is an internal task. Venerable Sariputta states that anyone who has not heard the teaching of the Buddha, or one who has forgotten what she or he has heard, or one who does not understand what she or he has heard, is subject to decline. This is true for both renunciate and laity. A lay follower's problem is trying to combine a successful lay life with Buddhist moral and spiritual principles. If one organizes one's life along the Noble Eightfold Path, one cannot go wrong. The Buddha was aware that certain degree of economic security is essential for spiritual development also, but stressed the fact that great care should be taken not to break the basic rules of morality, that is, the 5 precepts for lay people: not harming, not taking what is not given, not directly or indirectly lying, abstaining from abusing one's senses, and also harmful sexual behavior, and not using intoxicants. These are the 5 principles for the lay people. Once a firm determination is made, it's not difficult to practice this. Not gossiping, only saying what is true and useful is part of right speech. If one gets used to a simple lifestyle, money may not be an important item, as most people seem to think is the giver of happiness, joy, and contentment. Is money the means of solving all our problems? Many billionaires on their deathbeds mourn the fact that they neglected their minds, giving priority to the body. As Venerable Sariputta points out, the Dhamma has to be used intelligently and positively in all activities of our life. Not understanding that every intentional action produces a wholesome or unwholesome result. Some people spend their entire life blindly chasing sensual pleasures. This is due to a powerful mental force known as craving that lies hidden in all unenlightened beings. The cause of craving is ignorance, that life is an ever-changing process, subject to suffering, impermanence, and without a core or self. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Just as a shadow is connected with its object, so karma produces a rebirth. Therefore, every human being should act virtuously with care so that no subhuman rebirth will result after death. There are many people in the world who have never heard of the teaching of the Buddha. In the Mangala Sutta, the Buddha points out Patirupa Desa Vasocha, that one should be born in proper surroundings, which means where the Dhamma exists, so that one could follow it. And it's the result of good karma that produces such a rebirth, karma done in the past. The Parihana Puggala may be, that is the one in decline, may be the one who has heard the good Dhamma, but has forgotten it, and thus lives a life devoid of wholesome actions like generosity, compassion, sharing, kind speech, etc. A true follower of the Dhamma accepts the moral law of karma as just, understanding that it is the basic reason for the many differences we see among beings in relation to their looks, health, wealth, and wisdom. Such a person is able to face difficulties and failures calmly without complaining, knowing that she or he is responsible for them. Not to blame other people. She or he will not despair or try to escape from them by taking to alcohol, drugs, or committing suicide. A true practitioner, while engaged in one's daily activities, would be careful of one's thoughts, words, and deeds, so that inch by inch, she or he would be moving towards freedom from suffering. Some people admire the Dhamma, but do not put it into practice. Both the laity and monastics follow the same path, the Noble Eightfold Path, and want the same result, that is liberation. But their progress depends on their faithfulness and effort and the time they spend on the practice. If they practice qualities like generosity, goodwill, and altruism, fetters like greed, hatred, and delusion would weaken, and wisdom would arise. When an opportunity arises, one should not waste it or ignore it. To be happy, we should see ourselves and the world as they truly are, and shape our everyday actions accordingly, knowing that this world is not what we actually see, but the reality is different. Keeping the principle of cause and effect in mind when seeking solutions to our problems would help to make them more real and positive. For instance, when there is cause for anger, it could be like a fire within. Instead of looking for the person who started the fire, we should cool the inner fire first. The most effective way to keep to the path is to stay focused on the step you are taking now and see whether it causes suffering to yourself and others, or it does not. This insight keeps you mindful and in the present. Venerable Sariputta says that when the non-declining person hears a new teaching, she or he will not forget it, but give it thought and try to understand the teaching. If she or he is a layperson, will not follow the path of craving, wanting to acquire wealth, power, and possessions, and seeking revenge for past wrongs done to them, or foolishly follow their pleasure-loving friends. Wisdom arises when a person selflessly, that is not thinking of your own self, with detachment and kindness, serve others. Those living in affluent countries enjoy a high standard of living, but neglect spiritual development. In these countries, we see an alarming increase in sexual offenses, alcoholism, drug abuse, and suicide. This one-sided material prosperity only produces a pleasure-seeking society, which is ultimately destructive, like an iron rod that is destroyed by the rust arising from within itself. The Adhipateya Sutta, that is in the Anguttara Nikaya, talks about 3 priorities for the sake of spiritual progress and also for peace and happiness here and now. So that is both ways, right? For this world as well as the next world. That is, now the first one is self-priority. In Pali, attadipateya, supremacy of self. 2, world priority. Lokadipateya, supremacy of the world. 3, Dhamma priority. Dhammadhipateya, supremacy for the Dhamma. In connection with the Parihana Sutta, self-supremacy or priority or self-control, that is, giving priority to one's own moral virtue and spiritual growth, is the important issue. This is not measuring ourselves against others, but putting ourselves along with others, thinking that as we want to live, others do too. So we don't want to hurt others mentally or physically. No 2 persons can be alike. And so it's meaningless to compare one with others. The only meaningful way is between the person, that is oneself. 1 month ago, a year ago, or a decade ago, or even longer than that. And now, you see the difference between your own self, how you have changed. Physically, intellectually, morally, and financially. In all these 4 aspects, you can look at yourself then and now. If no improvement is seen, or only a little improvement, one should find out the causes and try to make more improvements. In another sutta, the Buddha classifies individuals into 4 groups. 1, the one who seeks neither his own well-being, attahita, nor others' well-being, parahita. 2, one who seeks others' well-being, but not his own. 3, one who seeks his own well-being, but not others. 4, one who seeks his own and others' well-being. These are the 4 kinds. The Buddha says that the first, that is, the one who seeks neither his own well-being nor others' well-being, that is the first one, is most inferior. The 4th, that is the one who seeks his own well-being as well as others' well-being, is most superior. The 3rd, that is the 3rd one, is one who seeks his or her own well-being, but not others. Now, Buddha says that one is better than the second. The second is one who seeks others' well-being, but not his own. So you can see there is a difference between some thinkers or what they think and the Buddha's way of thinking. Now let us see why. According to this point of view, one is required to examine the consequences of one's actions from 3 points of view. First is to examine whether they would result in self-blame. You blame yourself, or repentance for things done in the past, and thus take a morally correct decision, right? Here, one is controlling oneself. When you do that, you control yourself. Knowing that you have done wrong, you correct yourself. Then the second is the lokadipatya, is to examine whether the action to be done would be unacceptable, particularly to the intelligent people in the society. That is allowing oneself to be controlled by the public. Now, politicians, they have to think like that, but I don't know whether they do. Depending on public opinion could also mean coming under the influence of material things, such as reeling in the face of criticism and praise. Doing things to help your own group, right? Group. If it is politics, you know, your own followers. Seeking popularity or fearing blame. But on the wholesome side, it refers to avoiding evil actions and developing the good in respect to the opinions of the community. Third is whether one's action agrees with the moral norm, Dhammadipataya. Acting after clearly investigating or examining for the general goodness, not breaking the principles, laws, rules, and regulations. Even the laws and rules in the country, we should not break them for our convenience. One writer says, be there for others. You know, you must always be there for others. That means if there is something that you have to do for other people, yes, go ahead and do it, right? Be there for others, but never leave yourself. So that means you must think of yourself too. Buddha says, it is not possible, Chunda. Chunda is the one Buddha is at that moment talking to. For one who is stuck in the mud, to pull out one who is also stuck in the mud. But, Chunda, it is possible for one who is not stuck in the mud to pull out another who is stuck in the mud. This means we should give priority to our well-being so that we'll be in a position to help others, not through selfish means, always thinking of yourself and trying to get the best out of, the situation, whatever. Venerable Sariputta makes an interesting statement. He says, if one is not skilled in reading others' minds, just because you think you are knowledgeable and you know everything, you can't read other people's minds, right? The mind is a very subtle thing. So if you cannot read other people's minds, one should train thus. How? I'll be skilled in reading my own mind. Now he gives a parable. Just as one, a youthful person, man or woman, fond of adornment, would examine one's face in a clear, bright mirror to see if there were any blemish and make an effort to clean it if there is one. Or if there were no blemish, would be delighted, thinking, I am fortunate to be clean. Self-help examination or, self-help or examination is helpful for one's growth in wholesome qualities. Now, these are the questions that Venerable Sariputta says to ask oneself. Am I often without longing? Does this quality exist in me or not? Am I without ill will? Does this quality exist in me? Am I free from dullness and drowsiness? Does this quality exist in me? Am I often calm? Does it exist in me? Am I often free from doubt? Does it exist in me? Am I often free from anger? Does this quality exist in me? Is my mind undefiled? Do I gain internal joy in the Dhamma? Do I gain internal serenity of mind? Do I gain higher wisdom or insight? Does this quality exist in me? If one does not see any of these qualities, one should put forth effort, desire, mindfulness, and clear comprehension to obtain them. Like a person whose head hair or clothes were on fire and tries to extinguish it. Can you see what a lot of effort you have to put forth in order to get rid of these defilements? If none of these is present, one should try to get rid of the taints or asavas. They are called inflows, the bhavasava, avijjasava, ditthasava, and kamasava. I didn't say it in order. Kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava, and ditthasava. These are the asavas or the inflow or the taints. So one must try to get rid of them. They are very, very powerful and they lie under, you don't see them, right? That cover our lives. They cover our lives so that we continue to exist in the cycle of rebirth and suffering because of these asavas. It's easy to justify to oneself that one's inner and outer priorities are out of balance because you've got a demanding job. Your job doesn't allow you any freedom. Or your child is at a critical age. There are certain things like that you put forward in order to excuse yourself from practicing. So these are some of the things, right? There may be many, many more. And when this is resolved, you tell yourself, you will devote more time to your inner life. I have heard this excuse given many, many times by people. It doesn't work this way. For the future is unknown. It will come, if it is death, it may come at any time. We don't realize, that death doesn't tell us, I'm coming at this time. So suddenly it will come. Then we must be prepared. There is actually only this present time. So it's up to all of us to work with life now. If in this constantly flowing river of thoughts, feelings and actions that we refer to as I, we say I, that is just this river of thought, right? And you accept its ever-changing no self nature. There is no self there. You could be freed momentarily from greed, hatred, and delusion. At least for a moment, if you think of it like that, that moment you will be free from that. So these moments add up, These moments of freedom accumulate. If we can shift our awareness to pay more attention to the experiences of those around us, not to gossip, being more mindful of their wants and fears, our interactions with them may be compassionate and not reactive. To develop your inner life, it's not necessary to give up all those things you care about in daily life, but rather learn to balance them according to the truth. The truth is the Noble Eightfold Path. Sometimes rebalancing your inner and outer priorities can be done by just changing small daily habits. Can you wake up 30 minutes earlier to have time to meditate? Can you exchange your vacation for a silent retreat that will mean physical and mental hardships? Saying no to things your ego desires, looking for satisfaction that never comes, you may find more peace, harmony, and happiness in your life. Thank you. So if you have any questions, please ask. Don't seem to have any questions. So then, shall we do a little meditation? Today I have thought that we will do a little insight meditation. So sit comfortably, relax your body from the top of the head to the toes. See that your head is balanced on your neck and that your spine is straight. If seated on a chair, keep your feet flat on the ground. And if seated on the floor, on a cushion, sit in a cross-legged position. Keep your right hand on your left or on your knees or your lap, as you wish. Relax your mind. Let go of the past and the future. Thoughts, experiences, etc., etc. Now, you are ready for your meditation. Gently close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Be here in the present moment, simply sitting and breathing. Now, let's turn our attention to our senses. Let us train like this. I don't think you have done this before, but with me, of course, but I like to do it now. Just a few of these things. This is the meditation that was given by Venerable Sariputta to Anathapindika. So I'm giving it to you now. A little bit of it, not the whole thing, right? Now, this is how you think. Now, when I say this, try to focus your mind on that. I will not cling to the eyes, not my eyes, to the eyes, EYES. I will not cling to the ears. I will not cling to the nose. I will not cling to the tongue. I will not cling to the body. I will not cling to the mind. These six senses are impermanent, anicca. They are unsatisfactory, dukkha. They are not I, my, mine, myself. They are non-self, anatta. I will not cling to the forms I see with the eyes. I will not cling to the sounds I hear with the ears. I will not cling to the odors or smells I get with the nose. I will not cling to the flavors, tastes I get with the tongue. I will not cling to the touch I get with the body. I will not cling to the thoughts I get with the mind. These sense objects, stimuli, are impermanent, anicca, unsatisfactory, dukkha. They are not I, me, my, mine, and myself. They are non-self, anatta. I will not cling to I consciousness. Vijnana. I will not cling to ear consciousness. Sota vijnana. I will not cling to nose consciousness. Ghana vijnana. I will not cling to tongue consciousness. Jivha vijnana. I will not cling to body consciousness. Kaya vijnana. I will not cling to mind consciousness, manovinyana. The consciousness of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind is impermanent, anicca, unsatisfactory, dukkha, and not I, my, mine, me, myself, anatta. There is much more, but I'm going to stop here. Maybe next time I will do another section of it. So friends, maybe we can meet in another 2 weeks.